All right. Well, thank you all for joining. Again, my name is Antron Watson. I'm here with AARP Massachusetts. And as hopefully you've seen or have joined us before, you know that we are, strong advocates in our communities and really want to be that trusted friend and fierce defender, and really bring you content that matters most to you all. So today, I'm actually going to be joined by Susan Gillum from the Community Economic Development Assistance Corporation, who's going to share some information about about this home modification loan program that can support modifications to your home for accessibility. But before we get to Susan, I want to make sure you all familiarize yourself with the Zoom platform here. This is a webinar, so please along the bottom of your screen, there should be a Q&A feature. That is where we will try to capture all of your questions and answer capture all of your questions so that we can make sure we get them answered throughout the program today. And please put them there so that we don't lose them in the chat as folks start to comment and whatnot there. Other than that, this session is being recorded, so hopefully you can actually focus on what's being shared and shared today. And with that, I want to turn it over to Susan.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Antron. I very much appreciate the opportunity to share with folks more about this program. So as you can see from this slide here, the Home Modification Loan Program is a state-funded program, and we provide loan financing to property owners so that they can make these necessary modifications to their homes for someone in their household. So I am with an organization called CEDAC, or the Community Economic Development Assistance Corporation. CEDAC is a public-private community development finance institution. And so overall, the organization provides financial resources and technical assistance to community-based and nonprofit organizations that are working on effective community development. So we help with things like developing affordable housing, working with other partners in municipalities to do that. And we also assist in the creation of childcare facilities as well for more low-income residents as well. But in general, related to the Home Modification Loan Program, CEDAC is under contract with Massability to provide the fiscal oversight of the Home Modification Loan Program and work closely with the regional agencies that you'll be learning more about as we talk about things. And we work to support them in assisting applicants throughout the process of applying to the home modification. So what is the Home Modification Loan Program? It is a state-funded program. We provide loan financing, as I mentioned, to Massachusetts homeowners and some small landlords who need to address necessary accessibility or adaptations in their homes for elderly and disabled individuals. So the types of projects that we can assist homeowners with are permanent adaptations or modifications, which would allow someone to otherwise access or live at their property if they were otherwise unable to. So, right, it's not a general home repair program, but we work to help people make these adaptations for aging in place or for someone who has a disability. I know you guys, if you attended a session maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, you learned more about the types of modifications that can benefit folks as you're aging. Here are some examples of some projects that we often see funded through our program. So I'll just let you take a second to look at those. No sense in naming them all, but these are some examples of what we help with. um, and some other additional things that we often see. Honestly, probably bathrooms and entrances in and out of properties are we see those probably as our top modifications that we typically fund. I do want to pause here to talk a little bit about accessory dwelling units or ADUs. This is a project that we funded in Haverhill for an adult child who has a disability, and we were able to help them create an independent apartment for this child so that she can learn her life skills, but be near additional family for support throughout her lifetime. So that's really the circumstances where the home modification loan program can assist homeowners with the creation of an accessory dwelling unit, would be for the creation of that multi-generational living arrangement for long-term care and assistance. So let's get more, we'll talk now a little bit more about what the product is that we offer, the loan product that we offer. As I mentioned, right, we offer loan financing for the purposes of hiring someone to create these accessibility adaptations. We offer loans at a 0% interest rate to anyone who would be eligible. Our loan maximum for property owners is $50,000, and for those that live in manufactured or mobile homes, our loan maximum is $30,000. As I noted here, right, it's a 0% interest loan, so however much you need to borrow will be the same amount you owe back in the future. Additionally, our loans are deferred payment loans, which means they do not require monthly payments, but that loan is going to be due and payable in full when either the property is sold or ownership is transferred, or in some cases, if the homeowner is seeking an additional loan against their property using equity, there are some circumstances that we may require you to pay us back at that time. These are our criteria primarily in terms of your financial eligibility to the program. We offer loans at this time up to 200% of the area median income. And to just kind of give you a sense of what that means, for a two-person household with an annual gross income of less than $261,000 a year would qualify for our program. So again, we look at gross income, and that two-person household, it would be less than $261,000 a year or less. You could qualify. And we use the Boston area median income ranges that are published by HUD. We use them in all communities across Massachusetts for the ease of administration purposes. And now, additionally, another financial component of eligibility is that we look at the household's assets, and we only look at certain asset types and consider them countable in terms of determining eligibility. So it's almost easier for me to start with what we don't include. So we wouldn't ask an applicant to disclose the value of their primary real estate. We wouldn't include any retirement savings accounts or any of those accounts that you might have that would have a penalty for withdrawal, like a health savings account, a college savings account, any of these retirement accounts. They do not have to be included in that 175,000 countable asset category. But now the things that we would ask applicants to disclose to us would be, the cold hard cash that you might have either in the bank or under your mattress, wherever you feel but most comfortable keeping it. You would need to disclose that to us. And if you have any additional properties held in your name, you would need to disclose the value of that. And, basically money market or other accounts like that for investment purposes, not for retirement purposes. So those are the financial criteria. Um, we do work with landlords and offer loan financing to a landlord. The same applies here, right? That a landlord's loan would be secured with a mortgage against the property. Um, but we would be using the tenant household for many aspects of the eligibility criteria, such as income and need for the modifications. But the landlord would receive a 3% interest amortizing loan. So that loan would require them to make monthly payments. And all of that would be based on the loan amount that they need to borrow. So these are all of the local regional agencies that work directly with applicants and assist individuals throughout the process. So I'm just going to keep this slide up here for a few minutes so that folks can identify perhaps their own contact person that would be who they might want to reach out to. All of these folks are a wealth of information. They have assisted countless other households through this process. So I encourage you, if you are thinking about making some modifications to your home and want to use the program to help you finance those, that you make a personal connection with these individuals because they are the ones who will be your primary contact person and help you throughout the process. So that is really the gist of my overall presentation or things that I like to highlight. Primarily, I like to leave more time for questions and an opportunity for a conversation and discussion. So I encourage you to speak up or however Antron wants to manage this aspect of things. But if you are thinking the question, I guarantee you there's other folks out there who have the same question. So please, I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Susan. This has been very informative, and it's one of those things that, I feel like it's kind of like, is this real? Because there's programs that are out there that actually support this work. One of the things you mentioned earlier was that these are for modifications and not repairs. How do we really differentiate between what a repair is versus what a modification is?
So one of the ways I think it's a great question. One of the ways that I kind of think about it is if it's going to be something that impacts anyone or everyone that lives at the
Mhm.
property, right? That your windows can't open or that your roof needs a repair or, things like that. Those are really more of a home repair, right? Because everyone needs working windows. Everyone needs a proper roof over their head that doesn't leak. So really, it has whatever we fund through the program needs to have a direct link to the need of the person who is either aging in place or has a disability.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. And then I guess a similar question, as we think about the accessory dwelling unit piece that you shared, I'm assuming that's fairly new with kind of the recent uh, law changes around Massachusetts,
It's
or is
really
that
not new
current?
for our
Okay,
program. So
perfect.
the program has always helped support the development of ADUs. I think now that you can develop them by right, that's really
Hmm.
what the major law change is, right? Is that now municipalities have to allow single family homeowners in certain zoning to be able by right they have a right to develop an ADU. We
Hmm.
certainly are seeing more and more people now being interested in doing that. Um, and that's really in part because of that law change, right? Making it much
Yeah,
easier for folks to do that.
perfect. And now, okay, perfect. One question that did come into chat was asking if you could go back to the screen, to the slide with the types of modifications,
Yeah,
to give people kind of a general idea of those
sure.
again.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. Did you want to, go through any of these that
I'd
are
be
there
happy
that you're
to,
commonly see?
sure. Right? So, a lot of times we're seeing folks who need to remove thresholds, right? Because they can be a trip hazard for someone who might use a mobility device or aging and having more difficulty lifting feet up higher. So that's something we certainly have helped with. Or creating a wider doorway for, again, someone who might use a mobility device or have a caregiver also assisting them. I would say adding a ramp or an outdoor lift, as I mentioned, are some of the major modifications that we often see folks coming to us for. Just getting a safe, proper egress in and out of their property is really critical. Um, Certainly, you can understand if you're making those modifications to the front door to get in safely, why stair lifts might be a good fit for some of the folks that we assist as well, getting up to the second story of someone's home or sometimes down into the basement because of that's where laundry facilities are, things like that. We talked a bit more about ADUs and how those are really focused on helping people create that multi-generational living arrangement to have privacy, but also have that additional oversight for someone who might need it. Another big area that we help in is bathrooms, removing tubs and creating a walk-in shower situation for someone who I know I hurt my knee many years ago, and I really wished, and I did not have a tub any longer because it didn't really suit me and my needs at that time. So we definitely see a lot of folks coming to us to put in either a walk-in, sort of wet room even for someone who might be in a wheelchair for ease of showering, or putting in that low threshold shower just so
Yeah.
that you don't have that same lip that you have to get over. We also do work in kitchens in some cases where someone might be either using a mobility device and need an area to sit and prepare foods. So we certainly have created a counter space without anything underneath it so that someone could wheel up and use that as a flat surface for their meal preps. We've certainly seen folks changing out gas stoves and putting in other stoves because they're more concerned about the safety hazard of that open flame, and making adaptations to the cabinetry itself, right, with pull-out drawers, the fold-down racks and things like that for someone, again, who might be using that mobility device and need to sit while they're preparing things. Right then, we've got the outdoor lift. We certainly have all heard about grab bars a lot, so we certainly see that a lot. I talked about the removing of thresholds and how that's something we can help with due to trip hazards. And that's another, I'm glad we're kind of coming back here because we do work outside of properties as well. So we've helped people resurface driveways that were causing real concern due to trip hazards, create better walkways to safely get from the vehicle inside. Um, that's something we are seeing more and more of, honestly, in the last few years. And then applying the same concepts inside, right? If carpeting is challenging, we've certainly put in that hard surface flooring. And then fencing is really mainly for individuals who are on the autism spectrum, and
Mm.
they're for children who really have that lack of safety awareness, where they can run way faster than I can and end up in the streets and things like that. So we have helped many families create a safer play area outside and added fencing. So
That's
yeah.
great. So you've seen lots of ways that this has been used in homes and in a variety of capacities. And that actually kind of brings us to the next question,
Okay.
was really around, the provider agencies that assist with,
Yeah. I'm going to
do
go
the
back to my
provider,
list.
yeah, do those agencies actually assist with finding contractors to do the modifications, or are they really
Yeah,
focused on just the
so
financing side?
let's talk about the contractor piece a little bit more. The homeowner is responsible for finding, hiring, and managing their own contractor. Um, Most of these regional agencies will have some resources to help homeowners be able to do that. Many, in fact, have a list of contractors who've interacted with our program previously, but we do not vet contractors. We do not have a dedicated list of contractors that homeowners are required to use. Um, but that contractor needs to be licensed and insured to do business in Massachusetts, and we are going to verify that information. Additionally, that contractor needs to be a general contractor, right? Um, not a handyman who then and then you have to hire a plumber and then you have to hire an electrician. We don't support that because it's much more complicated for you as the homeowner managing your project to do that. So we ask you to work with one general contractor who is going to be the one who takes responsibility for ensuring that that project is completed. And that person needs to pull all the necessary permits with your municipality. And we do collect that information to ensure that you're, getting that additional protection through that process as well.
Thank you. That's a really good feedback on that one. And I also put the link to the state's site where you can look up registered contractors.
Yes,
That'll
yes.
be a good place to start, especially if the
Yeah, we do
agency.
have that in the program's frequently asked questions at the beginning of our application as well, so that you understand what the different licenses are, what they do, and how you can find more information.
Thank you for that. That's a really good answer there. Another question. Now I know this has been really focused on Massachusetts. Do you know of other agencies nationwide that are doing similar work? Specifically Virginia, if off the top of your head?
I don't know I know of a few other states. Virginia is not um, one that I can think of. But my tip for you would be typically these programs are administered by the Vocational Rehabilitation Agency or the Health and Human Service Agency at the state level. So um, finding your Health and Human Services state agency and calling them might be the first step, um, because a lot of the agencies that administer vocational rehabilitation are under that Health and Human Services Agency.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Now, we mentioned it earlier. I think a lot of this is folks always think about the homeowners really doing this, but now our renters, how can our renters take advantage of these modifications or encourage their landlords to take advantage of doing these modifications?
You can certainly inform your landlord about the program and see if it's something they'd be willing to entertain. I will tell you that we have had pretty low participation in general from landlords, in large part, right, because in many cases where there have been loans taken out by a landlord, it's because there's been a long-standing relationship between those two parties, and or the landlord lives at the premises and can envision themselves potentially using that unit when they need those types of adaptations to their home as well. So I I hate to sound like I'm deterring landlords, because in no way am I trying to do that. I'm just pointing out that it's not as enticing to that particular property owner, most likely due to the fact that it is a 3% interest loan, and it does require that landlord to make monthly payments until it's repaid.
Now, I know the previous session, we briefly talked about the Massachusetts uh, reasonable accommodations law. Is that, not that that's the angle to go, but if someone is needing modifications of some sort as a renter to their home, is that an angle that they should that would be the best way to approach a situation of that of matter? Or
Think so. I'm not a legal
yeah,
expert around reasonable accommodations, and it can be a minefield for sure,
yeah.
in just in terms of, making sure as the landlord you're in compliance, but also as a tenant, how you go about advocating for yourself and your needs. Um, but it is, particularly if you're in a publicly funded housing development, I would they take reasonable accommodations pretty seriously. Not to say that
Mhm.
private landlords don't. I am just less familiar with how they would approach things, but it is the law. So yes, I would say the first step would be to try to um, raise the need for for a reasonable accommodation for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm gonna put that link in the chat for how to find that. Another, I guess, question is, it doesn't have to be project by project, right? Or is the other loans up to the max? Is that how that works? Or yeah.
So along with your loan application, you will submit a bid from a selected contractor. This bid from the selected contractor is what is used to determine the loan amount that needs to be borrowed. So if you need a $12,000 stair lift, you would be submitting a loan application for the stair lift,
Okay.
right? At this time, you would always have access up to the loan maximum. So if, say, you needed a stair lift this year and next year you find out that you need really to think about putting that walk-in shower in,
Yep.
you can at this time, the way the program's designed, you can return and ask for a loan increase or to reopen your loan so that you
Mm,
can do additional projects. One of the things that we often encourage our applicants to do is to think as long-term and holistically about the types of changes that you would need. Because, right, you would have to reopen your loan, which means you probably have to submit updated documents for your loan file. You have to find that contractor again. You're basically doing it all over again after you've already done it. So um, did that answer your question?
Absolutely. That's some
Okay.
really good feedback on it. I think it's just knowing like you said up front, maximize that initial application as much as possible. But there is currently the option or possibility of coming back.
Yes, yes.
Excellent. Well, I know we're coming to the end. I don't see any additional questions. So one, I want to thank you, Susan, for taking the time to join us today and really go over this program and really how it can, support modifications or help folks identify areas for modifications in their home and find the funding for it, which
Yeah.
we hear is usually the biggest barrier once finding the need to modify our home. So thank you very much for bringing that information today. As I mentioned at the top of the session, this was recorded. So we will be sending out the recording hopefully later on this week to everybody who attended. But as you see there on the screen, if you're looking for more information about the home modification loan program, the website is there. We'll make sure that's in the link and the phone number and a follow-up email, so you can ask your additional questions, but also to actually go visit the website and actually see what's there.
Yeah, there's some great videos on there about how you can, the loan process, tips on how to complete the application, things like that. So I hope people do check out the website.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Susan, and thank you all for attending the session today. Hope you all
Thank you.
have a wonderful afternoon.